So I'm going to talk on the bridging the glycemic gap, smart prescription in GDM. So hyperglycemia in pregnancy is a major global health problem, and the world is facing a slow motion disaster. Every two of the three deaths globally are occurring because of NCDs, and it is believed that GDM is the mother of all the NCDs. These non-communicable diseases are programmed and imprinted during pregnancy, and if we are going to take care of the mothers during pregnancy and prevent this hyperglycemia in pregnancy, we may be able to turn the tide, and we may be able to bring not only down the GDM but also the other NCDs. So let us come to the glycemic targets. We know that the fasting and the pre-meal should be less than 90 now, and the 2-hour post-meal should be less than 120. The nocturnal blood glucose level should be less than 60, and the intrapartum level should be between 172 to 126. All this is aimed to have a baby who is normal birth weight, that is between 2.5 kgs to 3.5 kgs. So if the targets are not met, or a woman is diagnosed as GDM, we start her on medical nutrition therapy, which is a carbohydrate controlled meal plan. Although we need to be careful, it is not just glucocentric. We also need to control her protein, fat, micronutrient composition, distribution, and the type of carbohydrates that she's taking. All those need to be modulated depending on her pre-pregnancy BMI and the level of activity that she's doing. So how long do we continue MNT or medical nutrition therapy? So in the second trimester, it is 2 weeks, and in the third trimester, because the baby is already developed and there is very little time, so we should concentrate on medical nutrition therapy only for 1 week. And if the glycemic targets are then not met, then we go for pharmacotherapy, and mostly it is metformin or insulin. We are not talking about glyburide, because glyburide was the other type B category drug which could be given in pregnancy, but it leads to high incidence of neonatal hypoglycemia and macrosomia, so it has fallen into disrepute, and none of us are rightly prescribing glyburide. So this is a new thought which was published in by American Diabetes Association in Diabetes Care. Are the present current threshold adequate? So this is a very landmark study done by Hernandez et al., who have looked at the glycemic levels in normal glycemic patients, 12 studies over 45 years. And what they said was they recommended that fasting level should be reduced to 71 plus minus 8, and 2 hours PP instead of 120, it should be less than 110. In sync with this, Dr. Sashaya in the revised TIPSI guidelines again introduced this new term, the early gestational glucose intolerance. सबसे नीचे वाला row है. इसमें in the first trimester, if the 2 hours postprandial blood glucose, just after eating food, if the blood glucose 2 hours later is more than 110, they predicted that these women have a very high risk of developing GDM and associated complications. So this is an indigenous idea of Professor Sashaya. He introduced the concept of the primordial prevention of diabetes. We know that the DIPSI criteria, the national guidelines, are based on his concept. So this was published, the prediction and prevention of GDM and its sequelae by administering metformin in the early weeks of pregnancy. So here they hypothesize that if in the first trimester you come across a woman who has AGI, that is blood sugar more than 110 after eating a meal, then we can start her on medical nutrition therapy along with metformin, and this will prevent the development of GDM and its associated complications. Guided by his thoughts, we conducted this study in Lady Harding, where we did the correlation between first trimester two are postprandial blood glucose greater than 110. This is the same as early gestational glucose intolerance, or the term that I will be using, EGI, for prediction of GDM. And as you can see in the first row, if the woman had blood glucose less than 110, only 4% of them developed GDM. Whereas if she had EGI, then 95.8% developed GDM. And we found that the diagnostic accuracy of predicting GDM in these women was 95%. As compared to HbA1c, which is more expensive, not available freely, and it is very variable, not to be done in pregnant patients as recommended by WHO. They could predict only 83% women. This is our second paper, which was just published in the last month of March, last month. And here we did this study, intervening early, a strategy to prevent GDM by treating EGI with medical nutrition therapy and metformin. There was a lot of struggle we had to do with the ethics committee, but once we did this study, we could find that the woman in whom we give metformin, only 3% develop GDM, whereas in the non-metformin group, 87% develop GDM. And you can see that graph that by 10 to 11 weeks, actually the placenta has started developing. And if the hyperglycemia is transmitted to the baby at that time, the baby develops fetal hyperinsulinemia. Uske baad, if we are able to control the blood sugar levels, the fetal programming will not be prevented. So any intervention should be done earliest, preferably before 11 weeks. So in that diagram, we can see by 11 weeks metformin group, the levels blood sugar level came down to 105, whereas it became high or remained high in the other group. And we know that metformin is now a very beneficial drug for cardiovascular disease, gut microbiota, preventing of diabetes, anti-cancer therapy. Abhi, it had come in the newspapers, it improves the neurological this thing also. So it is a very useful drug. Coming to the safety of oral anti-diabetic drugs, glyburide and metformin, as I said, they are both category B, and they both cross the placenta. Now talking about metformin, the concerns, we all know that people who take metformin, they have GI problems. So we can tell the patient to take the tablet with the meals or use the sustained preparation. Preterm labor can occur in 28 to 30%. There is a failure rate, and we have to start insulin in nearly 30 to 40% of patients. We should avoid giving this in women who have impaired or abnormal liver function test, kidney function test, or cardiac dysfunction. And there is a lot of controversy which is associated with long-term safety in offspring, which we will be discussing subsequently. Benefits are, itna simple hai lena. You have to just take a tablet. There is so much of taboo. As soon as I tell a patient in the OPD कि आपको GDM है या diabetes है, वो कहेंगे नहीं, हम तो आज मैडम ज़्यादा खा के आए थे, मिठाई खाई थी. They become so anxious. So it is, and taking an injection every day, it is a real big problem. And us gynecologists have been using metformin in PCOS also. So it improves compliance and adherence. It is very useful, especially for those women who are obese or on high doses of insulin, because it's an insulin sensitizer and it reduces the requirement for insulin. And short-term safety and efficacy is extremely well documented and established. We start with 500 milligrams for a week and subsequently increase in increments of 500, maximum doses 2 grams, and the tablet is available in all these. But there is a caution. If there is a woman who has history of uteroplacental insufficiency, she has any type of hypertensive disease in pregnancy, previous history of stillbirth or macrosomia, or she is having FGR, fetal growth retardation, in those patients we should avoid metformin. If she is diagnosed in the first trimester, it is better to go for insulin. So these are the important precautions we should keep in mind. There is again a gray area. Metformin PCOS को हम दे रहे हैं, should we continue or should we stop? Although Western guidelines, ADA still says stop after first trimester, but now there are ample of literature which has been documented, and there's a lot of benefit. This is an Indian study done by Dr. Deep Datta from Apollo Hospital. They followed up children till 9 to 11 years, and they found that there was no adverse effect, and the outcomes in the babies who were born to mother with insulin or metformin were similar. This is a very good meta-analysis, and this gives Indian data. There is this MITI trial again, published in Lancet, which again proves that there are several maternal glycemic and neonatal adiposity benefits in the metformin group. But of course, this TOPCOM study is the newly most talked about study. Again, they said that early detection in pregnancy is very, very important. So let us see at the guidelines. So the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare recommends use of metformin, and very recently in 2024 the Drug Controller General of India have also approved use of metformin in pregnancy. So we are medico-legally safe also. DIPSI, NICE guidelines, and even European Union, which is the regulatory body of Europe, has also approved use of metformin in pregnancy. So the US guidelines, the ACOG and ADA, they say insulin should be the first one and metformin should be the second line, because it passes through the placenta and we don't know about the long-term effects, although lots of studies now are saying that it is okay to use. So this is the NICE guideline. The regulatory authorities have approved metformin in use from preconception till delivery. But of course, insulin wherever possible is the gold standard, because it does not pass through the placenta and we have years of experience using it. There are certain indications जब हमें metformin बिल्कुल use नहीं करना है and we go straight away to insulin along with MNT. Don't waste time for MNT also. These indications are if the fasting blood glucose is more than 110 or 1 hour postprandial is more than 140. If GDM is diagnosed below 20 weeks or after 30 weeks, if the ultrasound abdominal circumference is more than 75th percentile by 29 to 33 weeks, if she is overt diabetes, if she is in labor, whenever we are giving dexamethasone for lung maturation, she should be admitted, shifted to insulin. If she has any end organ involvement, ketoacidosis, and obviously all those indications in the last line, previous history of GDM with FGR, polyhydramnios, macrosomia, preterm labor, because they indicate that there is a significant amount of metabolic abnormality. In these conditions, no need to waste time on metformin. Judicially, we should start insulin. कैसे insulin शुरू करना है? पहले हम 7-point profile करेंगे, fasting and 2 hours post meal, breakfast, lunch और dinner के बाद, and 1 at 2 a.m. उसके बाद, if we know the targets. If the fasting is high, we are going to start with either NPH, intermediate acting or long acting at the night. If the post meal is high, we can give either short acting or we can give rapid acting insulins. Mixed start can also be given before breakfast or before dinner. We initiate the regular insulin dose of 2 units 30 minutes before a particular meal if the postprandial value is 120 to 150. इसमें मैंने लिखी है कुछ values. Just remember that 1 unit is going to take care of about 20 to 30, but it is not an absolute number because each patient is different. उनका obesity different है, insulin resistance different है, everything is different. खाना पीना different है, sedentary or activity is different, so it has to be modulated accordingly. So these are some of the units, कितना हमें type 1 and type 2 में देना है, but these are not very specific. Again, as I said, it is better to do the 7-point profile and start insulin according to this. But मोटा ध्यान रखना है that type 2 diabetes insulin resistance is more and requirement is more. Type 1 diabetes, you can see 1.2 unit per kg per day in type 1, and GDM they say उसका आधा है, but we should do it taking the 7-point profile. Which are the insulins which are available? So this is the list. We have rapid acting insulins. This is Lispro and Aspart, which have to be taken as soon as we are eating the food. Within 1 to 2 hours, you see the peak action coming, and the action will last for only 4 to 5 hours. So postprandial hypoglycemia nahi hona hai. But there is no major advantage of using such expensive ones, and the ones which is available to us in the public sector hospitals are equally good enough. But people who can afford, this is a very nice ready-made analog. Regular insulin, it has to be taken about half an hour to 1 hour before meals. The peak action will come in 2 to 4 hours, and the action will remain till 6 to 8 hours. And we also have the NPH in the hospitals. So the mode of onset of action is in 1 to 2 hours, and peak action will come in 5 to 7 hours. And just see, the duration of action is long. It will last for 13 to 18 hours. Now we have Digludec, Detamir, and Glargine also, which have no peaks. This is the basal insulins, and these take care of the fasting blood sugars and the pre-meal values. And the Lispro, Aspart, and regular are the bolus insulin, which will take care of the postprandial peak, which is the pathognomic of GTM. Monitoring we can do in the venous blood sample ले सकते हैं, glucometer से कर सकते हैं, which has a 5% difference from the venous sample, and now the CGM is also available. It has been proven by the national guidelines, and the FIGO both recommend use of glucometer, AccuCheck, which is standardized, because it has a good sensitivity, specificity, can be done even in the PHCs, but can be done by the ASHA workers in homes. Dr. Sharda Jain ma'am told about postnatal time. When they are so busy with their babies, they are not able to come to the hospital. So ma'am, I think they can do with glucometer, और जिसका बढ़ा हुआ है उसको hospital भेजेंगे या कुछ और action बताएंगे. So this is a very doable thing. Even EGI, which I am talking about, which Dr. Sashaya has predicted, they are doing in Chennai, ma'am. The same model has been replicated in Chennai, Kanpur, and Madhya Pradesh, and they have found this to be very effective even with a glucometer. So we need to percolate to the community and catch these patients. This is how the CGM very beautifully gives average glucose, time in range, time below range, time above range, and we did this study where we found that so many patients are having nocturnal hypoglycemia and hyperglycemia, which is being missed. Frequency of testing, ideal is obviously 7 point, but once the targets are met and we find that it is going normally, and if the patient is not able to do so many times, we can just do a pair each day, fasting or post breakfast, दूसरे दिन before lunch, post lunch, before dinner, post dinner, and in a staggering or rotating way it can be done. Whenever we are starting a woman on metformin or on insulin, it is our duty to educate not only the patient but also her caregivers. उसकी mother-in-law है, husband है, जो भी है, family members should know कि these are the symptoms when, and she should be having some meetha cheese with her so that this can be avoided, because it can be lethal for the woman also and for the baby. We should not have too much of glycemic variations. और एक और important चीज़ है, when she is monitoring, in once in 2 weeks we should also send a venous sample at the same time. उससे check हो जाएगा कि हमारा glucometer is calibrated or not. That is very important. I'm not going to read this slide. Immediate postpartum, as soon as the placenta is out, the glucogenic hormones are cut off, so the blood sugar levels come down very fast. And most of the GDM patients, they will not need any insulin. Type 2 diabetes जो है, उनको pre-pregnancy वाला जो भी ग्लिबोराइड, मेटफॉर्मिन जो भी ले रहे थे वही शुरू कर सकते हैं. And type 1 diabetes, the values will come down by 20 to 40%, and we should do blood sugar fasting and PP till day 3. And one very important and new thing, ma'am, we did this study where we did the in-hospital postprandial glucose monitoring on day 2 or 3. Patients हमारे admitted रहते हैं 3 दिन तक, 6 हफ्ते बाद they are not coming back. So day 2 या 3 पे अगर हम इनका OGTT करते हैं, and if it comes out to be impaired fasting or impaired glucose or diabetes, it is found to be as sensitive as being done at 6 weeks. So we should target universal coverage on day 2 or 3 only in the hospital and educate her that way. So metformin is safe during lactation. Negligible amounts are secreted in milk, and glyburide can also be started. And metformin is very useful for prevention of progression to diabetes, and it prevents development of diabetes, because these days it has been seen that these GDM mothers within 2 to 5 years they are converting to type 2. So lifestyle management and metformin are able to prevent development of type 2 or reduce the progression. So GDM, to conclude, GDM gives us a unique golden opportunity to correct the endocrinal milieu. Insulin is the gold standard, but metformin we have been using for so many days, and it is a very doable thing, and patients have a very good treatment adherence with this. It is very important that we treat the untreated hyperglycemia, whatever screening test we are using, whatever modality, insulin and metformin, glucose level ठीक रहना है. Therefore, to prevent the intergenerational transmission of diabetes and other NCDs, it is extremely important to use the life cycle approach, starting from the preconception time, what Dr. Sharda Jain ma'am had also told. And it is time now to focus on the features for the future, as told by Dr. Shaiya sir. Thank you very much for a very patient hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Picky, for
And
highlighting.
these are my 4 books on diabetes. Clinical Guidelines for Management of Diabetes by Foxy. This is a book written with Dr. Purandre, Managing Hyperglycemia. This is before, during and beyond pregnancy. GDM Guidelines, SOPs by Delhi State, and Foxy GCPR, and rest of my books.